Modern day women and how to deal with them. That's the conversation we're going to have here today on Relationship Thursday. How you guys doing? This is Ron Simplified, my author, podcaster, and your uplifting life partner. Now, this particular topic is one because I'm hearing it everywhere where people keep talking about how do you deal with the modern day woman. Well, you guys know I don't get caught in the male, female, genders, the roles that people play and all that. I mean, I do believe in roles in your relationship in terms of whoever is best equipped for whatever role we need. That's the person that should serve in that capacity. In other words, if the wife is the best person with finances, her role should be to handle the finances. Now, she should teach the husband the finances because if something happens to her, he has to take them over. So, but she should be in control of it because she's the one that's best equipped to handle that particular role. So that's, to me, the roles. Even when it comes to, people talking about protect and provide. And this is where a lot of these issues of the modern day women are coming in because people are still talking about the guy is the protector and the provider. I said, we got to get past the caveman mentality and thought processes and teachings. And by that, I'm saying, when you're talking about to protect and stuff, folks, we're no longer fighting lions, tigers, and bears. So that's not the protection that people are really thinking about when you talk about protecting. The people that really get into worried about the defense as far as fighting and stuff are usually people that were brought up in those particular environments. Other people, that's not even something they even think about. In most relationships, think about this. Most women wouldn't be in a relationship if they were looking at their guy from a protection in terms of, if I go someplace with him, I believe he can take on anyone in the room and protect me. let's be honest. Most guys don't fall into that role. Most guys, me and my dad were laughing about this today. We were saying how most guys would do like Richard Pryor said, teach your woman how to run. So if y'all get in a certain situation, you can tell her, baby, which way you going so we don't run into each other, and then when we get to the house, we'll discuss it. That's where most guys are. There's exceptions to the rule that'll jump up and they'll fight anybody. They'll fight to the death, but those are rare and in between. So this is where we try to make it seem like men are just these big burly guys going out here and they'll fight anything. No, they're not. Like I've said, and some guys don't like to hear this, most guys, if they get into a fight or they jump in another guy's face, it's because they believe they can beat that guy. And if they didn't, they would be negotiating on how to get out of that arena instead of fighting. Because, anyway, we won't get into that. But that's not, so this is not what we're talking about when we're talking about protection. Now, with that said, if your family is ever in a situation where they need that physical protection, as a guy, whether you're scared or not, you better step up and protect your family, mental and physical, and get up there and prove your manhood some kind of way, because you better not be hiding behind your wife. Now, don't get me wrong, because see, I don't buy into all the stereotypes I told you guys. There's some women out here that can beat their men, and he might be getting behind her because she's the one that's better equipped. Remember, we were talking about roles at the beginning. She's the one actually better equipped to protect them. Because hey, I'm telling you guys, there's some ladies out here that know martial arts. There's ladies out here that have been bodybuilding. There's ladies out here that have been raised by brothers. There's some women out here that they ain't playing. So. This trying to make it seem like, oh, women are so delicate. Y'all better get out of that. But anyway, we're not going to beat that. Bottom line is to provide and protect. It's saying, do your partner feel that she can go out and pursue whatever it is she wants? Does she feel protected mentally and physically? And again, it's not the lion, tigers, and bears mentality, fight, that you're protecting her from. We getting ready to put ourselves in positions where we have to protect her. I mean, you stay out of those environments where that takes place to begin with. But anyway, what we were getting to in this particular topic was the modern day woman. Because we're not in the lion, tigers, and bears, that kind of protecting mentality, women have gotten to a point, and this all started back in World War II, so this is not something new. When the women had to start to take care of themselves because the men were off at war, when the men came back to get those jobs, some women weren't ready to relinquish that freedom of being able to call your own shots, or just the freedom of knowing if he leaves again, I know I can provide for the family. It's hard for me. That's why, again, I don't get into the gender. It is hard for me. I didn't have a daughter. I didn't have any kids. But there's no way, and I know my nieces and those young ladies that I've spoken to their lives when I was younger and all the way up, I have never and will never, ever teach, depend on some man to take care of you. Now, I know some of you may get mad that you heard me say that. I will never, ever, and let me repeat that, I would never, ever tell or teach someone to be dependent on someone else. Now, if that works for you and you're a young lady that wants to stay at home and you have found a man that is willing to allow you that opportunity, folks, I ain't against that. That works for your relationship. But I'm never going to teach that that's what you should do. You should do what works for your relationship. But I'm not going out here and teaching that old thought process, because think about this. The women outweigh men by, as far as in the world, by a huge number. So that means, and folks, this is not getting to man and man, woman and woman relationships. I'm just trying to keep this as a very simple relationship. A simple conversation, I should say, not relationship. That's the wrong wording. But a simple conversation, and saying there's less men than there are women, which means if every man was to grab a wife, there's going to be a ton of women without a partner. So we already know the numbers are not even. So that's not going to happen. So all those women don't end up with a man. What are we going to tell them to do? Some people's philosophy is, yeah, well, women should take care of themselves until they find that man. Well, why should she relinquish that? I had a young man, I'm saying young man, shoot, he was older than me. But he was telling me, he's like, man, I'm a jerk. And the guy was well off financially, and I know because I dropped him off at home. And he was saying, I'm a jerk. And, he had a couple of drinks. And you know how they say when you drink, you start to really tell how you really feel. But what he said is, I'm a jerk. He said, my wife, this is his second wife. He said, for years, I've been trying to get her to quit her job and retire. He said, but I did a prenup with her. And that's what she always tells me. She says, I signed a prenup with you. Why would I quit my job and put myself in a position where if something happens between us, I end up with nothing? And the reason he was saying that he was a jerk is, he said, because I did the prenup because my first marriage, I got burned. And he says, and so I'm making her pay for the lack of trust because I got burned in my first relationship. And he says, I am truly a jerk. And he says, because she's right. Why should she, if I have a prenup, why should she stop doing what she's doing? And so basically it sounded to me like he's getting ready to go make changes on that. And I know there's some of you that will hear that and go, well, he did right. He should have a prenup. I hear these conversations all the time. Folks, I'm not going to get into that in this conversation. But if you need to do the prenup, then you shouldn't be getting married. Whoops. That's my perspective. Yes, they got trust. So you guys know they're a living trust that you can put in a living trust. This portion goes to this family member. This part goes to my business. You can do a trust and separate things because that's what it is. It's a living trust. You can do that without doing a prenup and trying to basically cut your partner off from getting anything. And so anyway, bottom line, I'm not going to get all drawn into that particular conversation because we're talking about dealing with modern day women. So the bottom line is women have gotten to the point where they're become self-sufficient. And if you're still in the caveman days thinking that all I got to do is because I'm the man, she needs to listen. And the guys I usually hear have this conversation are the ones that's running around talking about I'm an alpha. Those are the ones that really, like I said, in most cases, unfortunately, they look down on women and they think women are second-class citizens, and therefore I am the alpha, I am the decision maker, you should just listen to me, and I'll let you every now and then speak, and that's kind of the thought process. Now, a person like me, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, they would consider me a beta, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't care, you can call me beta. But the guys that that actually treat their women with respect, understanding they have just as much, if not more, sense than he does, knowledge, the drive to succeed. Matter of fact, in a relationship, she's the one that's going to be, what should we say? She's going to receive the rewards or the lack of rewards in every decision that you make. So therefore, why shouldn't she have input? I was sharing this again with my dad today. I was saying, it's amazing to me how guys don't have a challenge with taking input from other guys. And those guys could have other agendas, and those guys are not vested in your house as your partner is. But you have a problem with sitting back and listening to your partner. Think about that. Isn't that crazy? That's like being on a sports team and you're taking your information from another team when the person on your team, you're ignoring them. How successful is your team really going to be? And that's where this thing where we're talking about the beta, alpha mentality, that kind of stuff. But anyway, dealing with the modern day woman, because she has put herself in a position where she can now take care of herself, you have to actually get better at understanding and respecting her and putting her as a partner in the relationship and not treating her as a second-class citizen or the fact that she doesn't have any power because you're the alpha, you're the man of the house. And because women have gotten to that point where they are able to take care of themselves, they ain't putting up with a man who has that mentality or a man who looks down on them or a man who mistreats them. So those days, because people are talking about back in the older days when this was going on and women had felt at least that they had no option because they left their dad's house and they went and this man took care of them. So he became the provider. So where are they going to go? So they put up with a lot of junk. But then when they got to the point where they could take care of themselves, which is what we see today, quote unquote, modern day women. I was reading a thing, they said, in 1 out of 3 marriages, 1 out of 3, not 300, not 1,000, not 1,000,000. In 1 in 3 households, the wife actually makes more money. 1 out of 3. And we're still running around talking this man, he's a provider. Folks, that's what we mean by modern day. You need to mentally come into the modern day and recognize we're in a different era. Women are able to support themselves now, take care of themselves. So if she doesn't feel like she's a part of the team, she ain't gonna be on the team. She don't have to be on the team anymore. Back in the days where everybody want to act like it went perfectly, because that's what people want to say. Well, back in my day, back in your day, it wasn't working either. They just at least felt they had to put up with more because of the position that they were in. What were they gonna go do to support themselves? Now that they can, they don't have to put up with that mentality. So you have to actually get better at having people skills and being at least relationship in your house skills. And that's where guys who learn that or figure that out are actually called beta. Think about that. Isn't that funny? A man that actually respects and honors his woman and thinks she should have input in the house is a beta. And the man that thinks like a caveman is an alpha. That's bad poisoning. That's bad information that keeps being passed on. And anyway, I'm not going to beat this beta alpha because you guys can already tell I have my definitely perspective because again, alpha was something people created. Alpha is basically would be considered a leader, and you guys have heard me say in videos and previously or in conversations that I've had. A leader understands the more power you get, the more you are a servant, not the other way around. The guys that holler, most guys, and that's why I say I don't want to say all, most guys that holler the alpha conversation believe leadership means that the people serve you. Wrong. You don't even understand leadership. Leadership means just the opposite. The more power you're giving, the more you actually serve the people. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. But anyway, that's what's going on in this modern day. Is if you don't know how to treat her with respect and as a partner, chances are very, very good you guys are going to have conflicts in your home. Again, you do have some ladies that still believe in the old way. And that, again, this is not good, bad, right, or wrong, that still believe that the woman should cook and clean and stay at home. There are women, don't get mad at me, there are women that still believe that, and I'm not saying good, bad, right, or wrong, but that's her belief system. And then there's guys that believe that's her position and that's what he wants to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, I said if it works for you, run with that. But majority, and I do mean majority, of women today are taking care of themselves. So if you don't get good at learning how to communicate and treat them as a partner, you're going to have some serious conflicts. But this also took us to the conversation of, I was watching this video where the guy was talking about 90% of the people that he worked with that filed for divorce were women. And so he had a relationship coach woman, you know, kind of sharing her input and giving her advice on why did they believe this to be true. And what they came up with in most cases is that women really, when they've interviewed women, as far as the ones that just opened up and said why, they really didn't have a good reason. They just said it was gone. They just don't know what it is, but something was missing. And what I've come to believe, and you guys, I know you've heard this before. They say normally about the age of 40 is when women, when they hit that 40. I was watching a thing, what was it, Jada and Will Smith. And he was saying how for 3 years, at the age of 37, he started planning Jada's 40th birthday. And he had, who was her name? The singer, it'll come to me. But anyway, he had this elaborate celebration set up for her. And when he did it on her 40th birthday, for her, it was actually the worst day of her life. Whoa. See, that's why I tell you guys all the time, it's not your job to make people happy. It's impossible. You could do everything you want. They still get to decide on whether they want to be happy or not. And this is a perfect example of that. This man planned to give her the best birthday ever so she could take her 40th birthday with a bang. And you know how she took it? As that was his way to show off himself. And she was offended that he would take her 40th birthday to try to basically show off and you know, I guess his connections, how he could set up something elaborate. That's what she took from it. And he said even to this day, it still hits him because he realized that for her that was true and it really was kind of her worst day. And yet and still his reason for setting it up was to give her the best day of her life. See, folks, people get to decide for themselves, to interpret for themselves. But the bottom line is that's kind of what you read a lot about. It is around the age of 40 that a lot of women get to that point. And a lot of that is because if you think about it, at the age of 40, most women's kids are starting to leave the home if they're not already gone. And now, and this is why you guys have heard me say many times, your partner comes before your kids. I know some of you just got mad when you heard me say that. It's real. And this is why. Because these women hit at age 40. The kids are gone. Now who do they have to look at? Their partner. The person that they weren't having a relationship during the time the kids were there because the kids were the priority. Now all of a sudden you want to hang out with your husband. He don't want to hang out with you now. He got other stuff going on. On Tuesday, he play golf. On Thursday, he's playing basketball with the guys. On Friday, he's doing whatever. But you think now he should stop everything. So now all of a sudden you're starting to look at your life. And you're starting to think, is this it? That's why you better learn to date your partner. That's your priority. That's the person you got to build that relationship with. And then I know some of the issue also is social media. In this era, I actually feel sorry for the people that are dating in relationships in this era because they do have access to social media. And you get to see other people and you get to see other relationships. And they start to see people who are 40 or 45 or whatever, and they watch their relationships and they go, wow, incredible. I remember even hearing a comedian, I don't know if how many of you have heard of Russell Wilson, the football player, plays for the Seattle Seahawks, and his wife is Sierra, who's a singer. And the bottom line is he was making a joke because he said women are always wanting to look for Russell Wilson. And he was joking by saying, there's only one Russell Wilson. He said even God looks and say, I created him. And he said, he's an exception to the rule. He's like an alien or whatever. He said, there's no more Russell Wilsons out there. And he says, and Sierra got him, so get over it. And it's funny, but the bottom line of what he's saying is what I agree with, and that's that too many people are watching other people's relationships and trying to compare their relationships. And as you guys hear me say all the time, comparing will get you in trouble. It brings me to the subject. I had a gentleman, he asked me, he said, if my wife gained 60 pounds, he said, would that be a reason to get divorced or separated? And I was like, wow. I said, let me ask you a question. If there were no other women to compare her to, would we be even having this conversation? He was like, whoa. And I said, see, so that's just a bad question. See, before she got to 60 pounds, first off, you guys should have been noticing that and saying, okay, honey, what's going on? Let's address this issue. Definitely if she was at 60 and you think that that's an issue and she thinks that's an issue, why aren't you guys trying to figure out what the issue is and addressing the issue versus you asking a question on how you can get out? Interesting. So the reason I shared that story is specifically because quit comparing. Folks, I've had many instances where I have people on social media that you look at the pictures that they're displaying, you think them and their partner have the greatest relationship. They're an example of what you would dream of. And people, when ladies that are getting to that age where they're at 40 and or whatever, around that age, and they're starting to really evaluate their life and they're looking around and they're going, I'm running out of time, my clock is moving. And if they haven't had kids, they're really panicking. But if the bottom line is they're still sitting there and they're looking at their life and going, is this it? And then now with social media, they get to really say, is this it? Because they get to compare to other people's lives. And they start to think there's something else that's out there better. Instead of trying to figure out how to make it better in their own relationships, they start to look outside. This is where I've always shared that, just like we used an example of Will and Jada earlier, it is never your job to try to make someone happy. That's an internal job. It's not an external. He proved that all the external stuff, he tried to make her happy and it didn't work. It's always an internal job. So the ones that get to this, and if this is you, I want you to think about this and go through it. The internal job is getting to the point where you love you, value you, know that you're worthy, and I don't need the outside world to make me feel significant. Then you can start to look at your life and you can figure out how to make it work with the partner that you have. And this is the issue that a lot of people run into. Instead of trying to figure out how to make it work with the partner that they have, they keep trying to find it outside of their current relationship and get someone else to address an issue that could get resolved in their own relationship. Of course, if you have two willing participants, as we know. So before you get to that, if you're in that arena, I'm a person that believes in marriage. So I'm not going to teach you to get divorced. But there are times that I believe, and like I said, if you're being mistreated mentally or physically, I am always going to tell you, run. I'm never going to be one that teaches work through that. Not through mental and physical. No. They can work on that because obviously that's their issue. That's why they're giving it to you. And if you want to wait around for later after they get it resolved and you want to be there, and I know some of you are saying, but that's relationships, you got to work through that with. No, mental and physical abuse is something you should never accept. That is not acceptable. Just my belief, okay? Again, they can go get the help, and then later on, if we want to be involved in that, that's cool. If they're out seeking the help, and again, I'm not saying run if they're a person, especially on mental or physical, I ain't gonna never tell you to stay around for no reason, none whatsoever. If he ever puts his hands on you, or if she's hitting you, because in the real world that does happen. But I'm never gonna tell you from the physical. From the mental, if you see them going to get help and they're really seeking help and you wanna stay there and help them through that, more power to you. Again, that's a choice that you get to make, but I'm a firm believer, mental and physical, get your distance. Let them go get their rehab. And if you guys decide at the end of that, we're going to get together, that's cool. But you don't stay there and let anybody mentally or physically abuse you. But anyway, so that's really kind of the conversation on the modern day women. We're in a different era. Quit the comparing. Quit looking at other people. Focus on the relationship that you currently have. And I'm really saying this for the ladies that do get to their 40s or something. Recognize it's not anyone else's job to make you happy. That's an internal job. You have to look within yourself and see, why is it that I'm feeling this way? Address that and get your partner to help where they can participate, because again, it's not their job to make you happy. They can do what they can to support you, but they can't make you happy. And again, we'll go back to the Wills thing. They have money, so he was able to do an elaborate thing for her. Yet still, she chose to look at it totally different, that he was serving himself. So as you guys know, it ain't right, it ain't wrong. It is my opinion. Now, run on over to my new app. It's Simplified U. The word simplified with a D, the letter U, not the word U, and it's separated, Simplified U, and you can get it at Google Play, or you can get it at the Apple Store, and that will keep you up to date on everything that I got going on. And love to have you over there. Love you to visit the social medias that I created specifically for the Simplified U community that I'm just putting in place. You can contact me on any of those social medias. And if you go to those and there's not a bunch of people over there, don't panic. They're new. I just set those up. You have a way, once you download the app, you can visit me on all my other social medias that are up live, and I have all the people on them. But this new one I'm setting up specifically for this community so we can interact and really become closer. I can get feedback from you. What is it that you want? Where can I help? Where can I support? Because that's really what I want to do. That's really what everything that I do is all about, is I'm here to serve you. As I've said before, if you understand what, quote unquote, what a leader really does, a leader is really here to serve you, not the other way around. So as you guys know, if you're not having fun, you should be doing something else. Recognize in this day and time, this modern era, women are more self-sufficient. Guys, you have to work on your game and get better at actually having a relationship and actually communicating, because the days of saying, I'm just a provider, I'm the protector, in a lot of instances, that ain't enough, because she can do that part by herself. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.